My name is Sage Babalola. Today, we're going to be turning our proceedings to the discuss with the Situation Room here on Mainland 98.3 FM. As we begin the discuss, we have two segments on the programs, and maybe not irrelevant, but still, at the start of the day, have been addressing these issues, at least as bill, right? As we look forward to the year 2027, the election year 2027, the Senate has made sure experts also have their opinion on the subject matter, and so we would like to, as much as we have taken public opinion on this subject matter, have an expert join us and also talk to us about all the intricacies of this decision by the National Assembly to allow for both the electronic transmission of results and the manual collation, because they say, well, we don't have internet connectivity that cuts across all the states in the Federation, and so that should be justifiable reason in the elections. Ayo Adio would be our guest for the first segment, and for the second segment we'll be talking to a representative of INEC. Question: how does all of this affect you? What plans do you have for 2027? What do you say about the allegations that there's some sort of executive interference in the way you carry out your operations? What are you going to do about your ad hoc staff? Do you really not have the infrastructure? Representative from INEC who will tell us what exactly is going on within that institution. It's going to be a full conversation. Ultimately, we will take your own feedback on road to 2027 subject matter. Will it indeed strengthen democracy, or would it in a way leave room for ambiguity? Is this some sort of compromise, right, for students probably don't understand? Well, Ayo Adio is my guest, public affairs analyst. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's get into the discourse. First, let's get your overall reaction to the outcome of that. We cannot mandate electronic transmission of results. Fails, how then do we collate the results? What is your general
well, first I must say that it was a big win for the Nigerian people who pushed for electoral rights, because you currently do have a political elite that are more concerned with preserving their future of the entire country. So it was first a victory for the Nigerian people, forced the Senate to concede. This also goes to demonstrate that, you can have of any democratic society where citizens must pay key attention in the process. In other case in point, where people gone ahead, election results are the basis for the collation of results, so that we can create.
Others are asking questions that is electronic transmission would work. What if on that particular day they say, well, there's no internet connection, so we have to revert to manual collation? That at the end of the day, there's still ambiguity.
Well, if you look at the letters of the law, you would then see in the event that there is a gap, go back to basics, which area currently enjoy coverage. There will be just less than 7% data that we arrived at to an extent that we can make the argument that we have at least 90 suggest that you closely have nearly 100% network coverage, and hence you want to do the manual, that creates a legitimacy problem. But you see, even more importantly, the people who go to exercise their franchise across these polling units in the country to also remain vigilant, such that it is declared and counted and winners for electronic transfer. And the excuse by any electoral officer that no network exists, that you cannot be hoodwinked by
all elections should happen on the same day, or elections should happen earlier, say November, and no swearing in should happen until all electoral litigations have been concluded. Also, stiffer punishments for those who engage in electoral crimes like ballot bots, other factors, a lot of other recommendations that did not seem to have. Are there even provisions that you would have thought would be added to this?
Litigation process has to be completed before candidates are sworn in. I think that it's very important before the swearing in of being passed as an amendment to the Electoral Act. Now, the subject of debate. You could argue that I'd like to see that. What usually happens is that after the presidential, in a situation where the candidate of a political party that wants support loses the presidential election, it sometimes has it does mean that election turnouts will be much higher depending on the same.
Been touched, almost like we've been overwhelmed. We seems to have forgotten we have until the 20th. So
some organizations who have transferred results, I propose, we're likely to see the Senate is a very touchy subject. A lot of Nigeria, those provisions also scale through.
Electoral bill. My guest is Ayo Adio, public affairs analyst, managing editor, Avalon Daily, and we're talking about what the implications for this decision by the nationalists and also the outcome for the 2027 election, or predictions for the outcome of the 2027 results and electronically transmitted results. Or they're saying this is what was uploaded.
The manual, as you know, in the last election was fairly supreme. Are currently even on the side of coalition. So legal backing whatsoever, for such electronic. And I've been trying to read that they would also be the subject of collation, so that also be collated or used for collation, right? Because you have better electoral where then you would have reliably strengthened the process. The results that you're collating on paper on your committee has to then that those results cannot be declared for or against any candidate in that.
With the National Assembly, you know how people feel, or how always so difficult to get them to do things that people like. This resolution by the National Assembly has created a narrative, and this adjustment to the Electoral Act, do you think that it would make people more comfortable, as we saw in 2023? Do you think there will be heightened desire to actually want to participate in the election, trusting INEC, for example, for a second time, and hope
the Nigerian people see the Senate or the National Assembly as more credible, if at all, has, transpired. Because the way and manner it has been handled, came across to many Nigerians as though difficult to be confident, waited for, as we speak today, than in the members of the National Assembly. And so what I mean is make it into the amended Electoral Act and get a sentence for. And it means that since this is what they fought for, they will also want to revote and cast their votes. So I believe that there are apathy across the country.
Well, finally, ultimately, electronic, manual, whatever system, whatever adjustments are made to the electoral, accept the outcome of that result, what must happen aside even a
thing can happen that supersedes the participation and commitment, that people are passionate about the elections and they are passionate about the credibility of the process. And as long as Nigerians stay informed, as we almost guarantee that the process will be much fairer, much credible was 4 years ago. The difference that the process cannot afford to be laid back. We must document a final law. Election to a very large extent will be fair. And so after the people then will start to zoom its lenses on INEC to ensure that whatever process or procedures that it chooses to adopt, credible elections.
So instead of this Tğᴇ perspective or lens from which we view elections, very much for your time. We appreciate you for being of the National Assembly regarding this electoral bill and its amendments. This is a loophole that will be exploited or can be exploited at the end of the day. I do seem to think that we've made enough progress in terms of verification. There should be Nigerians on ground who can say, well, truthfully, the internet did fail. So there's no network when everybody says, we have it on ground now. So people went to bring generator. When the ad hoc staff says, there's no light, so some people from his house, that kind of resilience, if we see it, right, maybe INEC that will be joining us for the next part of the conversation. His name, reform and INEC's role in shaping Nigeria's this. Do you or do you not have it? We'll hear from the horse's mouth in a bit. Don't go anywhere. Situation Room on Milan 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Please stay with us. Imagine a country where our children possible, but only if we use our votes wisely.
Sadly, some people are ready to exchange their votes for money, food, or empty promises, and some politicians are ready to bad leadership.
Is your child's education worth
your votes? When you can, or leaders chosen by honest votes are accountable to you, the people.
Your right and your responsibility. Use it wisely. This message is brought to you by Mainland Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us. I told you we're going to be talking about of the ballot and would soon be moving away from the national. Have our guest who will be joining us via the phone. Of discuss at this time before we double down to other conversations here. The controversy really stems from the fact that the National Assembly, for one, thinks that INEC do not shaky in Nigeria. There are some areas with no connectivity at all, and it would make to transmit election results electronically.
All right. Well, I know there is a lot of discussion surrounding the transmission of results.
Right.
I think from different quarters, the 2023 general of the exercise at that unit, and it's now uploaded to be able to have a view looking somehow is being collated at the IREF portal. So that's what some are actually viewing the unit. It is automatically transferred to a point where involves technical know-how to be able to have it immediately once it's uploaded by the presiding officers. While those probably are not having strong connection, difference in time compared to areas where you have a full network coverage. For the commission, where that result was uploaded from.
The manual representation of the votes, the ones that were uploaded to the portal was not used or was not considered during the ones that have been uploaded to the portal, if they're both of the same relevance.
Yeah. What a lot of let's look at the Electoral Act 2022, counting of votes and the forms. In section 60, so the presiding officer shall, after counting the votes at the polling unit, enter votes scored by each counting unit level.
Yeah.
So this form, after they've entered all the details, it is signed and stamped by the. So the presiding officer, I think they'll be as prescribed by the viewing portal, so that those who this time around they are not transmitting the result. It's just to take a 6 year probably of the details as it's supposed to. Now query the tallies so that they to be made. So in a nutshell, the one signed by the presiding officer is the polling units that are under that restriction. In a nutshell, the IRF actually is still through that manual law.
How do we minimize this human error? Because this is very sensitive information, and you'd expect that those who are putting
it might interest you to know that now, because we have the polling units, we have the registration area or the ward collation of election, then also have the state collation. We at the collation level, there's what the commission has actually deployed to our officials we deploy. We call the collation support and result. So the commission is also looking at deploying that at the polling unit level. In the SCT election that is coming on very soon by 21st of February, the commission is looking at that to see how we can deploy the beaver still to assist in the collation. In the capidon diligently to ensure that errors coming from not calculating well, especially where the total number of it should not come in, because if that happens and at the collation level, the collation officer sees that and technology to assist the presiding officer so that even before their upload is done, their result is error-free and the correct calculation.
I know that with the whole delay with the Electoral Act amendment, INEC had mentioned that we don't know how to proceed because you're still debating this. For example, the election timetable and all, do we go and declare? Because I know it's the provisions in the current Electoral Act that complicates INEC's works, that makes it very hard. And what are these provisions? What sort of adjustment will the institution expect from the National Assembly?
The electoral framework we are currently using, if only stakeholders, those in the process too, we actually abide by the laws and follow it strictly, we will not have much problem. And these challenges, because from the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, smooth process, but somehow because people still find a way of subverting rights, we the Commission has already done challenges we had in the last cycle of elections, we do not experience them. So that is why, as we speak, the proposed amendment is still ongoing. But in terms of our own preparation for the 2027 general election, timetable for the 2027 general election, still using the Electoral Act 2022. If the Commission what we have using the 2022 Electoral Act, in order not to, find ourselves, kidnapping.
Information and publicity, INEC, we're talking about electoral challenges might be and the plans they have to surmount these challenges. Speaking of challenges, their election didn't happen at the awards or whatever the case may be, right? So to go to these areas, and that is just me trying to highlight some of the challenges in terms of logistic that INEC would most likely have to surmount in 2027. So let's talk about that. What plans do we have in place here? Is it financial, the means? means not suffer disenfranchisement come 2027?
All right. Conducting election in Nigeria is really a big or huge task because a lot of stakeholders are involved in the process and providers as well. And in terms of logistics, trying to get the materials, movement of the various materials we need for the election, both sensitive and non-sensitive, right from the vendors who provide them down to the commission, and from the commission we now distribute equipment to the polling units, and ensuring that they get there in good time before election start is one one challenge. Yes, over time, the inability to be able to cover some of these things, and at times there are those who are in the process, providers that collaborate with us that don't see the exigencies of some of the commission has actually helped us to ensure we're able to surmount them. Like, for example, coming from the commission, we've tried to ensure the delays for the election in a location that is close to the polling unit. So it's not an issue of you coming from your home on election day as election official to your polling unit. So what the commission does is to create a point in each of the restrictions. If there is even shortage of material, they know in that camp as well. If there's a shortage of staff too, it is escalated, and there are issues as well as the security that will be with them, and the 70 to 80% is the election security. So that's right from our strategies and things like that. It's left to them because we need to work with to ensure that on election violence-free environment for
allegations of political pressure, right? Of INEC. I mean, it literally starts with independent, which means that the operations of INEC should and tell us what the result says, and then nobody within or outside the sphere of power should have a say whatsoever in how that process goes. So, what sort of safeguards would you expect, maybe from the Constitution?
It depends on how the law also provides that 365 days to the election, when the election will be conducted, that the funds meant for us to do activity involves all stakeholders. Just last week, the chairman of the independent, starting with the CSOs, the media, the political parties themselves, as well as the security, in order to brief them on the commission's preparation and all we need to do. So even as the exercise kicks off, at times, as it being fit, and the commission definitely will give them speaking of accreditors to see. We always invite this done to have their agent or their eye at the polling unit level. What's currently trending between how the resulting and whatever.
No form of pressure, what
information and disinformation. Comments as a way of us sitting up just in case we are working according to.
Anyways, it's core members, volunteers, some actually go wrong during the election. Should we hold yet a paper, or we continue to?
All right, a very good one there that is used at the polling unit. Then in terms of accountability, just 17, oath of affirmation to that. We also have supervisors who say that some of these irregularities of our practice cannot take place. And where they find it happening, they raise the alarm or blow the whistle, as the case may be. So checks and also monitors to ensure that the right thing is done during the election. Commission are not partners in the process, something. So in other words, if someone gives you something more, that means you are going to compromise, because it's possible where you are working is not your polling unit. So your way of contributing to ensure each free electoral process that is transparent and credible is for you to do the one to be able to accept it.
Well, finally, why is it that INEC never really talks to people? And I know you talk Nigerian people and INEC. One would think that INEC would be proactive in talking to people before the elections. Even sometimes it's a few months to election, and then INEC starts to send out agents to talk to people, to orient people. Why is there this breaking communication? For instance, can you give Nigerians right now?
Like I said, I won't be defensive. Just prior to this time, a lot of persons don't present. I would like to put it now. Attitude of most Nigerians wanting to know how things are done, especially in the way of INEC. Yes, there are sister organizations who are there to also collaborate with us to ensure that the people get it. On the other side, we also do voter education as well to ensure. So, offices as in the 774 groups who collaborate with the commission to ensure that our activities and policies get down to those who need to know it. And also, we are on social media as well. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X, and we are also make them informed as well of our activities and policies.
So regarding the guarantees to the Nigerian people, because Nigerians are counting on INEC, and I know that there's a multi-faceted situation, election, there's security, there's INEC in itself, there's the Nigerian people amongst...
All right, let me just put it this way. I know what happened in 2023. Let's clear that. In 2023, a lot of persons the commission actually deployed that technology in order for persons that's in the best for the presidential. Somehow it was a program that was novel to the commission, and we have not actually used it in that scale. And somehow it wasn't really properly tested the what we have at that point, the structure, to don't handle the volume of people who wanted to get that information. So we've learned our lessons, and that is why even the FCT election we are about conducting on the 21st, we just had a mock go closer to 2027. If I introduce anything, it will be properly tested and see how it can be handled, so that whatever happens.
Director, Information and Talking to you, sir. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening. An hour 15 minutes together because of commercial, so let's maximize the time that we have for feedback. We first spoke to Ayo Adio on the legislative outcome from the they can do, or what they are supposed to do, or the effect of this decision by the 9136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Sek.
Good evening.
As I was listening to your program, I was reading on the social media. Showore said I know why Nigeria is still wasting time. You understand? With beavers instead of going full electronic. So why am I told by the politicians? That's just what I want to say. Because if you cannot rely even on ordinary beavers, to rely more and to make it mandatory, for transmission and giving excuses.
Right. Hello. You don't want to talk to me. WhatsApp 09136000430. Hello.
Hello,
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, let me
Tell me your name.
appreciate your guests. You see, and at the same time, let me appreciate humanity. Alternative, they say, no mandatory. With substitutes, individual. And those people that even went to, National Assembly, most of them have bank. Look at what is happening in their bank in terms of electronic transmission.